This is Surviving the Music Industry.
That sounds sick.
I didn't think about how that sounded.
Heyo, we're back. Brand new episode of Surviving the Music Industry. SMI, I'm Brandon Harrington. This is my podcast where you get to hear me gripe and complain just a little bit what's going on in my life. And there's a lot to gripe and complain, mind you. Hopefully you feel related to it in some way and you can even laugh at my disappointment and failures. But then I get to have gnarly conversations. This episode is no different. Had a rad convo with Daniel Donato. Most people know Daniel as this guitar player, but he's more than that, right? He's a human being. He's an artist. He's a songwriter. He's a podcaster. He's doing the thing. He's a funny dude. I enjoy his brand of comedy. I enjoy lots of stuff about the guy. We hit it off, I have to say. The first time I ever met Daniel, like face-to-face, and actually had a conversation with him, I invited him to a podcast called Breaking Ground. Doesn't exist anymore because the old Rona took out Zach Brown's bank account, so they couldn't fund the project anymore. But he was on an episode of it, and we were joking about something, and I said blammo, and he laughed at it, and instantly I knew. Like, that's all it takes, people. It's just one word, like blammo, and we can connect. Done. It was perfect. 90s Nickelodeon wham words. Gets me every time. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Every episode is new on a Tuesday. Every once in a while we release episodes on Thursday, so always stay tuned with that. It's always a little bit of a surprise, but we're definitely here every Tuesday. And what's going on in my life? I don't think that's really important. I kind of like to know what's going on in everybody else's life, to be honest with you. You got to connect with us at SMI Podcast on those socials across the board. And you can also go to smipodcast.com. There's stuff about the guests there too, some links and everything. We'll have a page specifically for Daniel in this instance. Go check out all his stuff that he has happening. But that's a great place where you can connect and email us. And go on a long-form tangent if you want. Some people like to use that avenue for pitching. It's not the right way to pitch. To be a guest, and honestly, I don't know, it's not the right way to do it. It's amazing to me how many people will like throw their name in the ring, and there's something commendable and awesome about it, but there's also this lack of awareness thing about it. And you want to introduce yourself, and the way that you want to introduce yourself is that you want to be on my show. Like, that's like saying like you like, hey, let's be friends, but give me everything in your refrigerator. You're not going to do that, right? So, I wish they would. That would be an amazing friend. I'm just not that good of a friend, I guess. Hope everybody's doing well out there. And if you want to connect, you go to at SMI Podcast on those socials. That's the best way to do it. Especially if you're a fan of the show. Love to connect with you guys. Go on the Twits. You want that direct contact. Got the TikToks for the funny vids. Got the grams for everything else. So that should give you a window of what's going on in my life right now. Not too much, okay? I mean, I'm sitting back, I'm writing songs, I'm making some funny videos, trying to make waves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the thing of like you're left with so much time and you don't know what to do with it, so you just try to do something with it, and I don't know what to do with it, and so here I am. We had the power out for like the last 4 days. Guys, do you know what it's like to be in isolation in a pandemic and the power is out for 4 or 5 days? That's insane. It was really third world living. I mean, we were making food by the fire. I lived in a second world country. I've been to third world countries. I lived in a second one, but it was like going back to those days. And just praying dysentery doesn't happen anytime soon. Woo! That should give you a little bit of insight what's going on in my life, in my world. But things are a little bit back to normal. If you guys have been listening to the past episodes, the Mrs., she's been out of town. Grandmother had emergency brain surgery, so I've been left alone with the kids. So now called in the backup. The Mrs. is back, and now we're 2 against 1. Things are a little bit adjusting back to normal. And I hope as the economy, things start opening up, things maybe can kind of get back to normal. and whatever that means in this normalcy. People are having this argument of the new normal, or it doesn't have to be this new normal thing, and people are rejecting it. I don't know where I fit. I just kind of live day by day and just kind of take it for what it is. But hope everybody can get to a place of practicality in normalcy, whatever that means in your headspace. And don't pressure that or put that on people. Don't be a corona bully. You know what I'm saying? Tons of you people throwing masks on people. People don't want to wear masks. They don't want to protect them. They're saying that they don't. They want to. I don't know if they want to say they want to spread it, but they're not doing their part, I guess. So, but don't be a bully. Don't force it. Just take care of yourself. Put on a mask. Wear your gloves. Take care of your fellow man. Be nice. Be kind. Do the whole thing of what humans really should be. All right. But I hope everybody really is doing okay. Again, as the world kind of starts getting a little bit back to normal, and each state has their own phases of how they're doing it. Abide by those rules. These protests are something, right? It's a little bit interesting. It's a thing of a lot of a collective unit of people coming together, but you're also seeing where it's like a nut fest of people just being crazy just because it's an excuse to be crazy about it. And maybe people at the beginning had really good intentions about doing it, but now, like, especially there's this whole situation of the alt-right getting involved. Now that's when it becomes stupid. Oh, man. This world changes on a daily basis. All you can really do, I guess, at the end of the day, is just kind of take care of yourself. And then if you happen to run across humanity, don't be an asshole. We got to be better than that. We got to be better than what we really... That we have to be better than what we are and start being who we think we are. You know, we hold ourselves to these high esteems in our imagination, and I think we need to start living up to that. Wouldn't that be an amazing picture? Just take care of everybody, people. It's nice. It was really nice talking to Daniel, though. I mean, it was a little bit of, I have to say, it was an interesting conversation because his Cosmic Country Tour just got canceled when we had this conversation. And so it was fresh on his mind. It just happened, and so we tapped into it a little bit. But don't feel bad whatsoever. He was still in a great headspace because, again, he's a funny dude. There's a little comedic element inside his brain, so he can look at a negative thing and kind of laugh about it. And in the tour, the Cosmic Country Tour, it got rescheduled. You can go to his website, danieldonato.com. That's the best way to know, especially like tour dates and stuff, everything that's going on. But of course, if you're a millennial, you know what's up. You just go to the socials, right? I would say start with Instagram, the Daniel Donato. And of course, I don't know, grandparent, mom or dad playing guitar, you're listening to this, or I don't know, something else. I don't know. Go to Facebook at Daniel Donato Guitarist. But a little heads up about Daniel. A lot of people may just know him as a guitar player. I mean, he writes articles like Premier Guitar. He's all wherever guitar is, like there is Daniel slinging his Telecaster, doing the thing. He magically got on stage on a Don Kelly gig in Nashville, and that kind of set the course and trajectory for this guy's career. But he wants to be known more than that, right? And we tap into this in conversation. We talk about the Grateful Dead. We talk about what makes the thing for music, art, and especially the appeal to the gym pop. So we really kick it off with that conversation. But we get to know Daniel too, and especially being the young dude that he is. I mean, he's like 20, but he started, doing the music thing at about 14. So not a child star, but I mean, just a child like country star. Like he just started doing the road gigs, started doing the thing. He's got a cool vibe. He's really happy. He's a really nice guy. I really enjoyed hanging out with him again. It was a sense of humor that we connected with. I think he just has a lot of stuff going on. He's working on songs right now. And so he is a songwriter. He's a guitar player. He's doing the artist thing. And of course, he's got TikTok. He's ripping that up. He's doing great with that. And of course, you shouldn't feel bad for him, especially for his tour. It's being rescheduled, but he's also released a Daniel Donato Cosmic Country live record during this time. And so it's some of the songs that they've played on the road from the Cosmic Country Tour when it was a thing. So you guys need to go enjoy that. You can go to danieldonato.bandcamp.com and go look at that. But you can go to our website as well, smipodcast.com. We'll have links there so you can easily find that Bandcamp record. But just in case, you can always go to his website, danieldonato.com. Go give him a follow, the Daniel Donato on Instagram, and of course, at Daniel Donato Guitarist on Facebook and on TikTok, if you're up with that, just like the rest of us are, the Daniel Donato on TikTok. Hello, his podcast too, The Lost Highway. He has episodes that are usually coming out. Most recent ones that I've seen, Orville Peck and Bill Miller. So guys, go check that out. But I hope you guys get something out of this conversation. It was a good day. It really was. And we connected over comedy and just the love of music and connecting over that. It's a spiritual element. There's also the entertainment aspect that we both love about it. But altogether, it was a great day. All right, so here's Daniel.
You know, someone having the same sense of humor or something likened to it, to me, is likened to kind of having the same armor, if you will, in life. So it's like, I can really relate to people based on their goals, right? Based on their fears, whatever. But if someone like has a similar sense of humor to me, I typically like can be friends with them much easier than any other characteristic being similar.
I kind of hate everybody that doesn't have the same sense of humor as me. Like, to be like, it's hard for me to really like gel with a lot of like normies, like a bunch of normal people. Like, I feel like I just have this, I don't know. You hear musicians talk about it, obviously, like hanging out with musicians, but comedians for sure, they're just kind of like, yeah.
Oh man,
Gen pop is not a thing that they go hang out with. Just kind of feel that way, which is not the most best human characteristic ever. But
well, it makes sense. Like, we are driven to not like people that aren't in our tribe, and it's like, well, think of like sense of humor is kind of the way that you improvise with life. It's the way that you can take things that are coming in and you can process them and try to relate with it. And it's like, if somebody shows a differentiation in that way, you know, there's reasons to believe that there's many other variables that they possess that you're probably going to disagree with. So, I mean, you know, I have empathy for what you're saying in a deep way. Because, like, in short, like, people who don't get my sense of humor sometimes make me feel weird. And it's like, and not in a good way. It's like, stop making me feel weird.
Yeah, I understand that. There's like a Tim and Eric kind of thing to you, which I enjoy that you bring to the music community.
Right on.
Yeah.
Wow, that is funny. I've kind of been that way my whole life. Everyone has said that who's ever watched that show, by the way. And I've only seen a couple episodes, and I just am who I am. Whenever I try to suppress it, it still doesn't work. So like I stop doing the work to try to suppress it, and life happens the same.
Yeah, I understand that like the suppression of the feelings. And I'm old. I'm an elder millennial, so I feel like,
oh, come on,
like going through time and space and like learning these things and manipulating your personality. Eventually, you get to the point of like, fuck it, I'm just kind of gonna be whatever this thing is. I've kind of just settled into that like in the past 5 years. So whatever that's worth to you.
What's your age?
35.
That's by no means old though.
But it's an elder millennial. Definitely not old, but like to a boomer, I'm definitely a baby. Millennials, I mean, you should listen to me. Generation Z, I don't know what's going on. They're just in Florida still hanging out with the Rona. So,
man, Generation Z is a different. It legitimately, you know, my sister's 9, so it's like it's really funny. So it's like I think the funniest thing that we see from generation to generation, which I almost was going to say genre to genre, which is actually in some ways
it applies.
It does apply, right? It totally does. The whole idea is the whole premise on which most major things in our life, transportation, communication, entertainment, the way that all those things function, they just do not relate to it because they were just on the other side of the mirror when they were born. It's like my sister's 9, so it's like most of the music she sings, she hears first from YouTube and then secondly from TikTok. And it's like that to me is also perspective wise. I think a lot of people when they hear that they're going to be like, ew. But I think really perspective wise, the way that they should process it is, I'm not saying they should process anything a certain way, but it might help to say, oh, fascinating. Oh, fascinating. Oh, so what is an album to my 9-year-old sister?
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. Yeah.
Something she wants to swipe past so she can go watch the next David Dobrik video?
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's awesome. So it's like Generation Z, they're in a permanent state of Florida.
Just swimming in all the Ronas. just breathing it in. Yeah. And just even the concept of like a single. Like it's not like, I don't know, it's not like your dating status, or it's not a thing of like putting out like a piece of music and it's your single. Like to this quote unquote younger generation, like what is that? You know what I mean? Like, do they understand the concept of a single, or even take it a step further like you did, like the album? Like what is an album? We're just eventually going to get to a swipe left, swipe right mentality when it comes to music.
Well, we should. I mean, in some way, I mean, we should entertainment of music, and it should keep up with the rest of the world. And of course, some things are going to have to go by the wayside. It's like look how bad we dress compared to the 20s.
Yeah.
But it's like we're paying so much money for Off-White, so like it doesn't matter. Like we're paying. My friend just bought a pair of Jordan 1 golf shoes for $300, and it's like, okay. That's a shoe that definitely costs no more than $50 to manufacture. And it's like, so just like think about like how music actually has retained a lot of ground all these years, but it's going to have to like go by the wayside with everything else in terms of like a diminishing quality of shelf life. Like things are just going to move faster than they ever have. It's like fashion says everything way before music does, and it always has.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. You're totally right.
We change faster than ever with fashion. And things cost less than ever to make, and we pay more for it than we ever have. On a wide scale, people are buying streetwear is going up to be really expensive now, and it's like StockX is a great example of that. And it's like music absolutely is going that way, where things are lasting for a week or two, and it's just a song and a video that you retain, and that's an artist's whole wave for that whole year. And it's like that's cool, maybe because it drives more money towards touring. But it definitely places a less of an emphasis on how to create an aesthetic in a story in a brand just based off an album cycle.
Yeah. I mean, even the concept of a cycle. Like I feel like to a younger generation, like they don't understand the concept of time. You know what I mean? Like if it's out, it's out.
Differently.
Yeah.
It definitely functions differently to them. Like, you know, and it's also a weird thing too, where I feel like we're getting to the point now where it's like, okay, you can say whatever you want about a short attention span being bad, but more and more people are being born who are only going to have that attention span. So how much longer do we stop saying that it's bad until we start saying, oh, fascinating, how do we cater to this?
Yeah. Dude, that's 100% like a bunch of boomers around a round table saying that the attention span is getting smaller and smaller, but in actuality, what people are doing is just filtering out what doesn't work in their life. Like entertainment just kind of, I don't know, beats to the same pattern of where people are like in their life. Like, and so
what do you mean by that?
I kind of feel like, I mean, the same entertainment in the 1920s does not appeal in the same way that it does 100%. In 2020. And 100%. So with fashion and with entertainment, how movies are made, how music is consumed and listened to and enjoyed, and what actually breaks, like those patterns are completely different. And so, 100%. So if they can't keep up with the times and keep attention spans, like, I mean, it's like your bud. Like, what's the point? Like, you should have invested in some toilet paper instead of the shit.
Man. Well, you know, it's like The Hobbit came out in 1937.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's like if J.R. Tolkien saw Lord of the Rings, surely he would love it.
I don't think so.
And that's really also valid. But it's also the idea too, where it's like, you know, there are a lot of people who read The Hobbit when it came out that hated it when Led Zeppelin mentioned it. and they probably would fucking despise all the movies. But it's like, in actuality, when you create something, it's not up for you to decide what the world does with it. It's up for the world to decide what they do with it.
Yeah, right.
And it's a great example of like how times, if art is worth living onward, it will live onward because it's made of the truth, and the truth always lives. And it's like, because the truth really is the only thing that's allowed to manifest itself into an onward cycle. And it's like it's also the thing too, where it's like, whether or not people like that certain phase of that art or not, whether you like The Hobbit more than you like the movies of The Hobbit, it all fulfills The Hobbit. And it's like, well, the entertainment is still going on. Ideas are still being carried forward. We just might not like it. We might be uncomfortable with it when we first see it.
Yeah. The Hobbit is a great example because obviously it's hard to ruin a great story. And I think that applies to music as well. You could do the worst cover of it, but do you really ruin the song of it?
I loved every time I heard Friends in Low Places. I cannot tell you how many times I've loved. Every time I've heard it, I've loved it. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a shitty cover, whether it's an Irish pub at 3 a.m. Who cares?
Yeah, that's a great example too, because people will butcher that song, but no matter what, it still gets the same thing across.
Which is that chorus.
Yeah, exactly. I just have a thing against Peter Jackson. It's a personal feeling. I'm just not a fan of Peter Jackson.
Well, he is a weird guy. He does have a questionable process, right?
That's not my thing. Like, my thing is like, I think he puts way too much of himself into his art. And
so he's not selfless enough.
I think so. I personally think so, because especially some of the bigger movies he made, from King Kong to obviously the Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit, there's always like a piece of him. It's like watching fucking Michael Bay. I hate Michael Bay because it's all the same thing. I love Michael Bay colors when it comes to movies, but again, a Michael Bay movie when you watch it. And it's just kind of like, well, it's a shitty story, but all the action is there. Peter Jackson.
So you don't like the timbre of Peter Jackson?
I think so. I think that's probably the best way to say it. Like, I'm fine with his creative process for whatever that's worth, but the actually finished product, the way that he implements himself as a director/actor into his writing, I think it does a horrible disadvantage to what The Hobbit should have been in movies. Like, honestly, J.J. Abrams should have done The Hobbit. Like, if he was hot at the time, if he was doing the thing that he is doing now with Bad Robot, 100%, a million times over, The Hobbit would be way better.
Whoa, come on with it.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm not familiar with J.J. Abrams, and, I haven't seen King Kong yet. Maybe I should watch that.
Oh, it's awful. It's just not, I don't know. It's
not the thing.
I mean, and again, it kind of goes back to the whole art thing. Once they put it out in the world, no matter what it is, I get to have my opinion of it because it's no longer theirs. I can actually say it's mine at that point. And I can actually say, I'm just not a fan.
I love that too. I love that because that's the thing about art, is that it exists both in the qualitative and quantitative worlds of measurement.
Yeah.
And it's like, we were at Southern Ground, and it's like, I know plenty of people who say, I hate country music, but I love Zac Brown. And it's like, awesome. So that's really qualitative. But then you have like, over 30 million albums sold. And then you have like the quantitative aspect of it as well. And it's like, it's fantastic that art can exist inarguably on both ends of the spectrum.
My thought, mentioning especially qualitative and even the quantity of it, like especially mass groups of people can't be wrong, but at the same time, are they wrong? Are they just filling in the patterns that have said that, well, if this person likes it, I should like it too, and I should like it too. But like, actually, if they sit down and listen to the music, like U2, for example.
Come on, yeah.
U2 sucks as a band. I'll just go ahead and say it.
So my question to that, which I wonder if you'll honor, which U2?
Yeah, there is a difference in time, right? That's what you're asking.
You know what I mean? So really Joshua Tree U2 is not your vibe?
Right. Joshua Tree, I think, is amazing for what it is. Like, it broke boundaries, it broke records, and there's great songs. But what I've always enjoyed, and what I'm really saying, especially U2 as a band, as a collective unit, I don't think is that great. to be honest, I love when other people cover U2. And so,
Man,
and so I think other people can deliver a U2 song better than Bono. That has nothing to do against Bono. Has nothing to do with Edge. It's just the sheer product of all of them together to create this music. I'm just not a big fan of. But the songs are amazing.
What's really funny is I remember being fascinated with iPods when I was younger. I really was into the older iPods. I remember thinking, I just loved the way the design happened, the way the design looked. I loved the boxes. I used to save all the boxes.
Yeah.
And this was before the iPod Touch. So this was like right when the iPod Shuffle came out. And oh my God, I remember when the U2 iPod came out, my uncle had it. He was a huge U2 fan. And that's how I discovered U2. And I hated them.
Yeah.
It was just not for me. I didn't get it at all. And thinking about it now, and now that we're talking about it within this context, it's like the fact that I dislike it that much as a young kid, the fact that you disliked it that much, still do, is probably the same reason. It's that asset, that variable, is probably the very thing people love about them.
Which is what? Like, what do you think?
Well, it's the qualitative. That's the thing, is you can't actually define that, you know?
Yeah.
But you can quantify, literally, in terms of marketing, one of the most premier endeavors of our time, of this millennium. The product that everyone in the world has had, where a product has never been had by anybody in the world, the iPhone, that was the only band to ever get their album just put into the phones. Like, what? So in a marketing, right, that's literally never been done before.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, I have another example. I feel like you and I can really go back and forth on this. Like, you're a Deadhead, right? I feel like you are. And like, this is your thing. I'm really not. And I even have gone so far of like just even sheer Google of why do people hate the Grateful Dead? Because I don't hate them. I never grew up with it, and the only record like I can really say that I really explored is like American Beauty, like around that time, you know, like a couple of those like Grateful Dead records. But at the same time, like there's the thing of like I still don't understand why the mass love of the Grateful Dead and like the power of their influence when there was no marketing. Like a big part of their thing was it's peace, love, and happiness, and we're just up here to do this free thing in San Francisco, you know?
What do you mean by free?
Well, I think their complete attitude, their mentality, almost their mantra, their mission statement, I guess, as a band, they just kind of said it's free. I'm just curious, especially since I know that you're a Deadhead and I'm really not. Like, how much does that mean to you, like as a Deadhead? Like what does that music even mean to you? And try to like, I don't know, quantitate what that means to help me understand it. Because the Reddit I read,
I love Reddit,
was amazing. Like it had to be one of the largest threads might have ever gone through why people hate the Grateful Dead, and it was undecisive. It was just there was nothing. Of
course,
there.
It is.
Yeah. So from you, what is that?
I think there's a couple questions to dive into there, right? So it's like, what does the music mean to me? First and foremost, it's definitely my lighthouse in terms of inspiration and where I draw a lot of ideas from. And I listen to it every day. And it's the thing that I probably do the most that I've never had to try to do. So I try to exercise 6 days a week. I try to eat healthy 6 days a week, do these things. But I really have to try to do those. Like I make decisions to do those things every day against other things I'd rather be eating and doing. And even during this coronavirus time, like I'm still waking up at the same early hour that I do, and I'm still trying to hang and do my thing. The Dead, though, is something that I just do. I listen to them. I start each day of music by practicing an hour along to a song or a record of theirs. I'm always learning a song by them, and I'm always observing and dwelling within that world, because they really created a way of playing music. And it's actually, in some ways, the most American thing ever. And I love that. And I love the morality of it. And I love the freedom of it. And I love the longevity of it. And I think it's all because of the truth that it carries. It only is truth. So when either you like a truth or you dislike a truth. And the thing in life is you have the ability to close your eyes to certain truths. And you also have the ability to open your eyes to them and keep on discovering the wonders of them. And I can see why a lot of people don't like the Dead, but that's what they mean to me. And then I guess the second question is why do I think people don't like them?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to functionality, like once more. It's like, it's a lot to have to like, to deal with, like that music. I discovered recently that there's, in Western belief, that there's 4 parts of the tongue. There's sweet, sour, one more that starts with an S, and then bitter. Savory.
Savory, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
In the East, there's a thing called umami receptors, which are actually based around all the entirety of our mouth, if I'm not mistaken. And these are things these are tastes that soy sauce and mushrooms and things like what's it called, kimchi, are very heavy in. And so that's why when a lot of people who aren't from that culture, when they consume something with that, it's a very pungent taste and they might not like it. So much so where I've been on dates and like I love Thai food and things like that. And like I love mushrooms. I've been on dates or I've been hanging out with friends, whatever, and mushrooms will come to the table and it's like the polarizing food. I hate mushrooms. I love mushrooms. And so I'm always have been in life really a person who likes things that other people hate or they love. And so I can get why people dislike the Grateful Dead because it's really easy to dislike them. But if you have those receptors in your brain, it's really easy to love them.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
So that's what I was getting at with that whole mouth metaphor.
Yeah, I get it. It makes sense in my head because it really does. I kind of almost equate it to some people just aren't ready for the Grateful Dead. Like, there's just...
With everything, right?
You know, like, I was having this conversation with somebody not that long ago. Some people just aren't ready for Radiohead, you know?
I don't get Radiohead at all. And I own an Ed O'Brien guitar because I love the way it works. But no, man, it's not for me right now.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, it's also the same thing, like the U2 thing. Like,
100%.
You know, Brian Eno, you know, you can go back. Some people just mentally... audibly and even taste bud wise just aren't ready for Brian Eno. Some people just aren't ready for the Grateful Dead. Like, it takes time and whatever event musically or just whatever crosses your ear path of to say, okay, I think I'm ready for the Grateful Dead.
It was kind of forced upon me in my life.
Yeah, when was that? When was that?
I'll tell you what, man, it's very crazy. I just discovered recently on New Year's Eve that it's been played in my life since before I even knew to understand what I liked in music, i.e. being 2 or 3 years old. So when I was born, my mom was single. She was 21 when she had me. And she had a brother. She's the oldest of 6. Okay. My uncle's a week older than me, my youngest uncle. And so we were still living in Jersey at the time, and my mom had her oldest brother come live and kind of take care of me while she was working 2 jobs. And she did so heroically. And we lived in an apartment in Jersey, the same very apartment complex where she came to meet and marry my father. So she would watch me while she was working. He dropped out of high school to follow the Dead. So he was doing acid all the time, smoking tons of cannabis, and just hanging out doing his thing. Never really but he since then, you know, he's a father and he has a daughter that loves him and he's gotten his shit together in a great way. Yeah. But nothing disrespectful against his personality. But at the time he was young. I mean, he was like 18 years old. And they would take me out on the beach him and his girlfriend while I was like 1 year old, and just play the Grateful Dead off cassette tapes for me, and I would dance to it. I just learned this because we went and saw Dead and Company for New Year's Eve this past New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
It was an insane time. I got to meet John Mayer.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, so getting away from that, it was like, which is crazy. It was also American Beauty was the first album. It was the first 3 albums my dad ever gave to me when I finally took him up on the chance to play guitar. Because he was always trying to get me to play guitar, and I hated guitar. I fucking hated it so much. And
why was that? Is it because...
phonetically, or not phonetically, like, or maybe like the physically. I just hated the way that it literally felt in my hands.
Yeah, it's not natural. Yeah, I mean, humans aren't supposed to be able to play guitar. Like, you have to bend muscles and change things. Yeah, for sure.
No, not at all. There's actually a lot of things you got to do to prevent your body from deteriorating from doing the activity as often as someone like me does.
Yeah.
You both dietarily and physically, by the way. Yeah, but so my dad gave me American Beauty when I was 12. But then years later, I was a super driven kid, and I was able to push against guitar, and I still am, but I was really able to push against it and practice for hours and hours and hours on end. And then eventually started making it a lucrative endeavor. I was able to start gigging. Landed the dream gig of my life at a certain time in my life when I was really young. I was 17 or 16. And a history teacher that I had came and seen me at that gig. We were playing at Robert's Western World, which is the home of traditional country music in Nashville.
Yeah, so you're playing with Don at this time, right?
I'm playing with Don Kelly. Yeah. We played 500 shows roughly, right under. And played 5 nights a week, 5 hours a night. And this history teacher, I had him for 2 years in a row because I took an AP class the third year. But the first year that I had him in sophomore year, he had me stay after class one day. Or this was junior year, sorry. Detail doesn't matter. He had me stay after class one day. And he was a real like alpha male, extroverted, really conscientious, disagreeable, intelligent guy. So he really ran the show well, and everyone respected him. So he was a great teacher. But when he would call you out, the tribe of the class really knew something was going down. And randomly, one day in class, he goes, just randomly, it literally was like, so the Gettysburg Address was signed on this day. Donato, see me after class. And then Mary Ann Lincoln. And then he just continued on. It was so weird. Anyway, he brings me after class. I go and see him, and there's 3 ridiculously huge binders on his desk. He goes, I'm going to need you to bring these with you. And I go, why? And he goes, also, you need to never bring them back. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, I just got 17 gigs of my entire Grateful Dead bootleg collection onto my MacBook, so I no longer need it. I came and saw you last night because it was a Wednesday night. We were playing from 6 p.m. to 10. He goes, I came and saw you. And you didn't see me because I was watching from the back, but I figured you needed to get turned on to this band. And that's how, when I started driving, I basically just had these Grateful Dead CDs in my car, and I would just plop one in, plop one out. No understanding of when the shows were, no need to like try to compete with anybody in the bootleg world because I was born in the 90s. I was born the year Garcia died. So I was able to get in on it just purely based on the love and the truth that the band offered. Just like how I got into country music.
Your mom's in New Jersey, and then somewhere like Dad introduced you to music or got you a guitar, got a guitar in your hand. When did you start playing guitar? How old?
So the first song, which is so funny, the first song he ever tried to teach me, I was 6 years old, and it was the song Mama Tried by Merle Haggard, which is just to me so ironic because it was the first song that I ever played at Roberts, and it was also literally the first song I ever heard the Grateful Dead play once I got into them at a later age in life, being 18, 17, which isn't really later age, but it is compared to 6 years old. So Dad got me into guitar. He tried to get me to play, and man, I just really fucking hated it. I really hated every second of it, dreaded it so much.
Was any of that part of, I can only assume, and this is why I need you to clear it up in my head, like Mom being single, and then there is a dad in the picture somewhere. Was it anything because like Dad was showing you how to do this in some way?
No, not at all. My dad is my best friend in the world.
Okay.
My dad is calls me on my shit. My dad, every piece of content that's created mostly is my dad and I. All the green screen videos, music videos, and that's all my dad and I. And
That's
it's
cool.
all. He was the reason I had the idea to actually go and bust down on Broadway, which is how the first time I ever got to play on stage happened. So
Now, how did you get to, and why? Like, how did you get to Nashville from New
Yeah.
Jersey at some point? Like, you moved here at some point. So what was
Mom's
that?
family moved here.
Okay.
Mom's family moved here to raise my youngest uncle, who's a week older than me, Sam. And they had 6 kids. They had been living in Atlantic City for a while, and then other parts of New Jersey. And it just became to not be the place for them to live anymore, which understandably so. Culturally, it's a hard place to live. Geographically, it's a very tight place to live in certain parts of it. They were in South Jersey, which is a little different, but still, Tennessee is way better, if you ask
Right.
me.
Yeah,
Ain't no
right.
place I'd rather be. It's like Tennessee is the place. And so they moved down here, and then we followed suit a couple years after. And it was a small town known as Spring Hill, Tennessee,
Mhm.
which is where the Saturn plant was at the time, which was a GM plant. Saturn since closed. And it's a beautiful town. So yeah, that's how Tennessee happened.
Okay, so now you're in Tennessee. You're playing guitar at this point. I can only assume like you're a mad scientist, like in your room, like you're just kind of just learning and consuming as much stuff because your career, quote unquote, like music playing career starts really young.
Yeah, it does. It's just my dad's a very entrepreneurial minded person, and he's
Okay.
very work driven, and but not in a way that there's any like it's not like the American Beauty movie,
Yeah.
which is so ironic of a metaphor to make. You know what I mean? But like
I
that dad
do.
was that dad was a dick.
Yeah.
Like he was mean to his son, and he was very like stringent, hardworking guy. He lived in like a nice house. But my dad's not like
military
that.
secret gay dad. That guy. Yeah, I remember.
My dad
that
is
movie.
neither of those things. To my understanding.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, so I'm kind of just I'm trying to build this picture of how you grew up because you know, you kind of hear the stories of momagers and dadagers and like
Not at
singing
all.
So that's not your story when it comes to like especially meeting Don Kelly and like joining the band.
Zero.
But how
I was a danager. I was my manager.
Oh, okay.
Like I really was. And he just facilitated all of the logistics to happen. He would drive me down every Saturday for 3 years to go play on the street starting at 10 a.m. He was just like, and we lived an hour away. And he was just, if I was willing to do the pull-ups, he was willing to drive me to the gym. And it was
Yeah.
like, you need that person.
So instead of
actually-
soccer games, like you went and busked on Broadway or something.
Well, for a while it was wrestling. Before it was guitar, it was wrestling. I was a really angry guy and I still get really angry at times.
Where
But
does
like,
that come from?
I think it comes from drive,
Mm.
ambition, and then not having the developed muscle of patience to be able to process it all and turn it into goals.
Mm.
And that's what guitar allowed for me to do. Literally forced me to sit down, stare at something, to understand a concept that I had an ambition to do, and then turn it into and manifest it into a literal, tangible goal and thing. So it was kind of like this life processing calculator. The guitar turned to me, like it really is. And still to this day, like I'll have a lot of goal resolutions, and I'll have realizations when it's with the guitar. It's just because I can sit down, I can take all this energy and this ambition that I carry around with me, and it just forces me to sit down and kind of come into the moment and process something.
Yeah.
And I remember it being like that, like literally, I'm not even kidding, immediately. Like, I remember sitting down in my room in my beanbag that I bought from Target, being like, oh, okay. Yep, this is it.
Yeah.
But very much so.
I kind of have the same sentiment as well. Like, there's something about learning a music instrument that's like a great calibrator. Because I feel like I was an angry kid too. Like, I just had all this angst, and I feel like all teenagers just have this grunge angst in them for whatever that's worth. And then I don't know,
The
something.
lucky ones.
Yeah, I mean, something about learning an instrument and forcing like patience and development and focus. Like, it's a great calibrator to the mind, and I know that's really cheesy, but that sounds like that's part of your story. Like it kind of
Man,
was a
I
mind
feel like
shift.
crucial. I'm glad that you can relate to it. And it's like, you got to think anyone who has success at whatever their specialized skill set is in life,
Yeah.
they probably feel the same way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And it must all add up to the concept of flow, which the Malcolm Gladwell talks about in a really intelligent manner.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I value his stuff. That dude's way just too smart for me. But just the sheer aspect of just, especially the way he communicates things. Oh, it's genius. Oh, he's great. Yeah. He's great at what he does. All right, so dad is not a dadager. Like
No.
I've always had this impression in my head, and I feel like some people do, just because our way our society works, is
Sure.
that when there's a kid on stage, there's a parent on the side honey boo-booing you. You know?
Oh yeah, that's so funny.
So, I've worked with momagers before, and I just always had this thing in my imagination, like they really are that person. It is a creepy thing, but that's not your story at all. You just seem like a normal dude at this point. And do you feel like you've had like a normal life for like whatever that's worth, like nothing crazy?
No, I mean, the fact that my mom was 21 when she had me, and then she met my father.
Is he your biological father, by the way?
He's not my biological father.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they met, 2 years, 3 years into me being alive. And that to me is literally crazy, because my dad, personality wise, why it's crazy is because it was just a seismic, perfect thing that I needed in my life, because I'm very disagreeable and I'm very hard-headed, and so is my mom. But my mom she won't bite back. And so if I were to not have had him in my life, I wouldn't have had anybody to be very blunt and giving me a wall to run into.
Yeah.
And so my dad was the first person to wrestle with me, which led me into wanting to get into wrestling, and participated in 5 state championships 5 years in a row. And so it's like, it's always been my dad that I can kind of test my life goals out on, and like it was him that gave me the idea to go and play guitar on Broadway, and then walk into the bar and have the balls to get up on stage and play. And it was like but never once was he trying to benefit from it, because all ego that he has been translated into drive and passion to fulfill whatever his kid's vision is in life, and just helping facilitate that. And that manifests with 2 of my younger sisters as well. So that to me is crazy, that she just met that person who was willing to give up his whole life and just raise me, and then, start a family with my mom. That is literally wild.
Yeah. That doesn't happen. I mean, that's a unicorn, like ABC sitcom, like special moment.
Oh, just wait. We're getting Bob Saget in on this, and it's going to be
but it's going to be a sitcom with dick jokes with Bob Saget. I mean, that's
dick jokes, yeah, right.
Full House with dick jokes. So
now it's a Full House.
Now
that's what the show's called.
Okay, that clears up so much for me. All right, so you're doing this thing, and Dad's like supporting you 100%, and then you're becoming the success in life because you have all this love in your corner. And in walks like Don Kelly in your life. Did you know, like when you started hanging around that scene, like did you know? I feel like you would know like the impression and what Don Kelly brings to the community and like guitar players.
Oh no, 0%. Again, the phenomenal luck of, I call it this, right place, right time. But what also people leave out of the equation is right mind, which is having the ability to either see the phenomena that's in front of you, or not see what everybody else has seen. Kind of like the idea of like someone getting into the Grateful Dead being born in the mid-90s. So you really have no presumption. You have no expectations of anything.
Who are you? What is that?
Yeah, it's like, what is this thing?
Yeah. I mean, you're a little bit of a unicorn. I mean, because it's exactly that. Like, who's going to be a deadhead like in the 90s and discover them? And then also this thing of you're going to play with Don Kelly that plays, quote unquote, like traditional, still some deep cut country music on Broadway.
Right.
And that's what he does. And then in walks you, this kid that can wail on a guitar at this point.
I wasn't. No. So this was actually the second day we had gone downtown to Broadway. So the first day we went down there to busk, I made no money.
You're loaded.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're richer than everybody else busking if you made no money at that point. You didn't spend any money.
But we were walking home and we passed the bar, Legends Corner, and Jason Link was playing.
Yeah.
And there was a bass player named Randy Hall who saw me as I was walking by, as they were about to pass the band's tip jug. They were taking a break, saying, "Hey, you," from the street on the microphone. "You look like you play guitar." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I play guitar." He's like, "Why don't you go and play a song with us? Because why not? This kid's going to make us an extra $40 if he plays with us."
Right.
So I play on stage. We play a Bob Seger song that I never heard before. My life is fucking changed. It was the first time I could ever play electric guitar on stage in front of people. It was loud, and it was hitting me in the back, and it was reacting, and it was boomeranging and making other people love it. And I loved that. I realized there was power in that, and it was a moment of seeing a vision for myself. And so we come down to Broadway the next day, and I decided I need to buy a Telecaster, which is the country guitar. And we got a Converse shoebox, and I wrote "Saving for a Telecaster" on it. And that day, we made $555. And as we were walking home, which was literally $5 over what I needed to buy a Telly with, Telecaster. As we were walking home, we passed Roberts. And I remember just loving the smell of it. And I just walked in out of nowhere. I walked in so fast and so nonchalantly that it was past 6 p.m. You were not to be allowed in there as a minor.
Uh-huh.
And the door guy never saw me. Super strange. Walk into Roberts, my dad follows. My dad doesn't say anything to the door guy. And I see this band setting up, and I see J.D. Simo get on stage. I walk into Roberts, and I see J.D. Simo, and I'm just entranced by how he kind of looks like Jimmy Page, and he has a Telecaster that's all beat up. But I've never seen anybody do this. And I tell you what, man, there is video of this on YouTube, and I cannot find it, but I have it in my saved files. But when I go to access it, it says only private users can see it. But there's video from this night of me seeing the band for the first time. And I'm literally just crying. I'm just I am literally bawling my eyes out of amazement. Like the end of Pocahontas or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I am just entranced with drive and passion and love and discovery for what I heard. And I never heard a sound like it. I never felt anything as powerful as it. To me, it just feels like getting hit by a wave.
Yeah, this is your Lion King moment, man. This is when the Simba raises you up, and then your complete life changes, and you're kind of king of the world at this point. Man. I think everybody goes through that feeling, no matter kind of what it is. But for you, it happened to be a stage, it happened to be a guitar in your hand, and then that just kind of changed the course of your life.
Right, and it's funny how the specifics of it are the things that give us identity. But the macro of it, we all share. And it's what a great paradox in life. It's the very specifics of what you do provide you to be, who is Daniel? Well, Daniel does this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those vocations apply to your identity. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Brandon does his thing.
Yeah.
And it's but ultimately you're trying to do the same thing I'm doing, which is just trying to achieve the most potential and the most character achievement that you can have. Yeah, that just hit me now, and it seems kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we do kind of, go down that rabbit hole of the identity in music, but you have a unique case, because especially starting out so young, being on stage, being as, this quote-unquote guitar player. It's the guitar player, Daniel on Premier Guitar. He has his own article. He does this thing. He's known as this telly like badass. He's a young kid. He's the next like Brent Mason, blah, 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 blah. And it becomes so your identity. And everything like in your life thus far has been like very serendipitous. Right? I mean, like...
Yeah, man.
The Grateful Dead just happened super young. It was ingrained in your DNA. And then also the situation with the guitar coming into your life and then just walking across the street, walking on the sidewalk and being called up to play. Like, it just all happened naturally. But that all forms your identity in an early stage. But then now, like, you're walking into this life as, like, a songwriter. You know, like I remember Brent Mason and I like having this conversation at one point because that's what he wanted to do. Like he wanted to be a songwriter, like artist thing.
I know.
And so
he was playing on his demos, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But maybe it was the timing of it. Maybe it was the thing of Nashville couldn't divide like someone's identity. Like they couldn't say, well, Brent Mason can be a songwriter and a badass guitar player. So like you walking into this time as like the artist, like songwriter, are you having trouble like with that identity portion of it, like for yourself? Or is, the community looking at you like, I don't get it. Like, what is this thing? Because identity is everything to a human being. But if we can't know what that is, or if people can't, figure that out, that also like influences the identity.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to unpackage with that whole statement. And it was like the thing that I found so fascinating when I was speaking to Brent about that part in his life, which needs to be mentioned, I think, as part of my answer, which is he didn't really, and who knows if this is fact, right? This is what Brent Mason said years after the fact. But who knows if he actually had a really easy time accepting that truth? To me, it sounded like he didn't have a hard time. He said he was able to make more money, and he already loved playing guitar, and he knew he was gifted, and that's what he always worked hardest at.
I got that impression too when we talked.
But it's like, you got to wonder, that's the thing for me is like, how much of your ego is deciding where to go and where to not go in life? And it's like, that's where I see a lot of failure, and I see a lot of failure with that, where it's like people not seeing. They really don't want to see what they're kind of being told, and they just keep on moving forward but not seeing. And it's like, well, where are you going to walk if that's the case?
I don't know. I can argue to that maybe. I feel like people just lack self-awareness a lot, right?
Totally, man.
Because I feel like ego could be definitely part of the equation. I can definitely accept that people's ego can be so huge that they can't see the forest for the trees. But then then I feel like there's this thing about an artist that, and any creative, probably not just an artist or just a songwriter, but being willing to accept that, do I go down this route that the patterns are established that, oh man, I'm really badass at doing this, or do I do the thing that I really want to do? Like sometimes those two lanes are like, it's a fork in the road, right?
Yeah. Well, my friend Joe Firstman, who a lot of people have a lot of things to say about my friend Joe. And we all have a friend like that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Something that Joe said to me that I'll never forget though. The worst thing you can do right now is to say you know what you want to do. And it's like, yep, I can agree to that. Like, I can say I really have a strong idea and a calculated plan as to execute what I want to do, but I'm not going to say I know it. That's the thing.
When you say you know it, that becomes the thing of establishment, and then when something rocks your world, then your identity is just kind of blown to shit. I mean,
oh man,
it kind of.
I like how you said when too, because not it.
Yeah, it's when, because that's a consistent pattern, especially the people I talk to. They always have this moment in their life of, well, fuck me sideways. Like this happened. And then it changes the course of their life in a new direction. I know I've had it. I think it's a matter of when. It's not if.
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, what's the point of life of having one with no scars?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the most expensive jackets I see for sale in vintage stores and on Etsy stores now, frankly, because vintage stores are like only open on Wednesdays from 2 to 4 because they can't afford to stay open.
Yeah.
But it's like The most expensive ones are the most fucked up, distressed black biker leather jackets. And it's like, of course, we value something standing the test of time and having the story to tell for it.
Yeah.
Of course we.
Yeah.
It's like that's why we love Trigger, Willie Nelson's guitar.
Yeah.
And so it's like nothing can stand the test of time unless it faces challenge. And that's our whole point in life, is to stand the test of time. I feel like that's part of the deal. I'm not saying I know, but like I feel like that's part of it. And it's like you're given those challenges to have an opportunity to pursue it with as much personal truth and moral correctness as you can. And therefore you'll be an expensive leather jacket one day. Congratulations.
Yeah. I love the leather jacket analogy, because every time I see a brand new one, I just automatically think they're a Southern Baptist preacher trying to appeal to the youth, and the jacket never fits right.
Right, always way long and no shoulders.
And it's a dad with a flat top wearing Jeffrey Dahmer glasses every single time.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Man. My mom wrote letters to Jeffrey Dahmer.
No way! This is a real
And the
thing.
only time I ever took mushrooms, which won't be the last time,
Yeah, sure.
but it was by accident, and it was across the street from the hotel where Dahmer like took all of his victims, I guess, for like the sensual parts of his murders. I know nothing about his process, or his creative process, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
he's a painter with body parts. He's the Chef Gordon of cannibalism.
right, he actually has a master class coming out very soon.
Oh, exactly.
Subscribe and the link below.
I've seen the commercial. It's $30. $30. It's you get so much out of it. Like your mom wrote to them. That's creeps McGeeps, man.
She loves murder. She loves murder, and she loves she just does.
That's fascinating.
She loves that whole world. She has a good mind for it. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, man, serendipity. You know, serendipity also. You were mentioning that. I didn't mean to cut you off, and I think the last thing you were talking about was about the big "fuck me sideways" moments.
Yeah.
Aren't those kind of serendipitous too?
Oh, yeah, 100%, because that changes the course of a new direction, whatever that may mean. Because in the moment, you don't know what it is. You just think that you're just getting fucked over from the man. Or your tour got canceled because of the Rona. I think the speed maybe, or the timing where you're at in your solo songwriting career is faster because of those serendipitous moments.
You know, it's good to hear that there's attached, that you think things are happening fast, because if you ask me, on any given day, I think things are happening terribly behind schedule.
Oh, that's everybody. I mean, how can you, especially when you're 20, bro, like...
I know. That's what everyone tells me, but it's like it's still on that subconscious level is there. Yeah. But I didn't want to cut you off. My apologies.
No, I get cut off all the time. I'm married and have a kid, so it's okay. But it's the thing of that things happen for a reason. I'm going through it right now, like trying to work out a deal. But this deal is taking its slow, snail pace, and it's not working on my timeline. But then you got to come down to it of like, well, really, is it really my timeline, or is it these serendipitous moments that make your life and your trajectory? You know, do you really hold the reins of your life?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Life is just so fucking weird and awesome and fun.
Oh yeah. It's a simulation.
Yeah, it's Westworld. It's really the thing of, I mean, we're just in it, and we're just kind of floating cosmic beings, and here we are.
Man, I really cannot agree anymore. It must not matter. All the big worries that we have. It must ultimately not be that big of a deal to where it needs to start sliding the way that you distribute love and positive action, especially with people that are within your family and then people that you work with, business partners, etc. It's like, probably shouldn't have to worry about too many things to that degree to where it starts making us bad people, where we start especially treating ourselves wrong. Like the whole corona pandemic of having to stay inside and self-quarantine has given me no excuse but to revert back to who I was when I was 14 through 17, which was 12 hours a day, all day, doing the thing. And it's like, that to me has been really great. And John Mayer had a great thing about it. He goes, it's going to force people to only produce singular efforts for a good while. And it's like the singular effort is the thing that's what people know you for. They know you. People are going to know. People are going to know. Let's think of somebody like they know them for that one song. They know them for that.
Yeah.
They know them for that thing. We know Van Gogh because of Starry Night.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, Van Gogh had 65,000 paintings that he literally did 3 paintings a day for some 35 years. And it's like, we know him for the singular effort. And so it's like, if you could focus your time on a singular effort, I find myself like, I'm a lot nicer to myself now. Like I have been, at least recently, the past couple weeks, 12 days. And it's like, which is a silly small amount of time to speculate on, but I feel like it's real because it's probably not going to lighten up anytime soon, the quarantine. But it's like, it's the fact that the thing not operating on your timeline, I'm awaiting a deal to happen as well. And it's like, I hate how it's been taking this long.
Yeah.
It's been taking 3 months. And it's like, I'm thinking about it every day sometimes. Is this my fault? No, not really.
It's the thing of like, especially if you're so like, you're in it. I mean, your name is on the billboard. Your name is on the record. It's your songs, right? So it's just kind of like you have this timeline in your head, and now you got to wait on other people, like for the judgment calls or for these things to happen, and now you're working on other people's timeline. You know? And that's part of the frustration, I feel like, for a lot of creatives and artists or just even entertainers. I mean, if you have your name on the board, like eventually it's not really on your timeline anymore. and maybe that it goes back to being serendipity. It becomes a thing of, well, the reason it didn't happen so quick, it's because of blah. You know, but that's going to be like 2020, you know, like looking back, you'll have to look back at it in 2025 and say, oh, okay, that's why it didn't happen. Is your singular moment basically concentrating just on like your songs now instead of just the instrumentalist, like, or what people like try to place you in a box?
I stopped compartmentalizing the two skills probably 2 years ago. I stopped looking at them in terms of how people perceive me as two different things, which might be wrong. But when it comes to how I spend my time, I look at them as two different people. So I actually have a way that I actually, in like a calculated way, that I spend my time. So I have times of my life like that, like I start and I end my day with, that like aren't music. So like I'll wake up and I'll like exercise and I'll read or something. Some shit like that. I'll make like a French press. Yeah. Bought a French press the other day. And I love it. It's like vinyl. I get it. So then I have I have learning practice, which is where I'm taking in information, or I'm kind of like what's the term, wrangling with new ideas. So like I'm literally running things with a metronome, or I'm learning a new song. I'm learning a new Grateful Dead song. I'm learning a Bob Dylan song, or something like that. I'm learning a part that I hear somewhere, whatever, right? And then I have creative practice, which is all songwriting. That's all that is. I don't really create much on the guitar anymore unless it's to like create with a song. So yeah, that's all I do. I mean, that's been my life for like 2 years.
Yeah. So what I hear, especially when it comes to like a singular motive or a singular action, like for you, I feel like it's just kind of just being creative, and it's just being who you are. Because I feel like the thing, and maybe it's all entertainment, and maybe it's just us as human beings. Like, we just like to say, like, that one person I know is this thing, and they cannot be another thing. Or, like, we look at that person and we try to figure that person out, and everybody wants to, like, figure it out. Everybody wants to know, like, what that magic is, or, like, what, or, like, to say they know what that magic is. But,
man, me too.
But in actuality, like, you can't. Like, humans and the creative mind, the way art works, like, it's so complex. So it's unfair, especially, like, you know, you read album reviews or you hear somebody, like, talking about a band, or, I mean, we did it. Like, we attach this singular emotion thing, and that kind of becomes it. And it's so hard for a lot of people to empathize or look at it in a different direction or accept it for what it is.
Right, totally.
And so the complexities of, especially your career, that's what people, I feel like, when they look at Daniel Donato, it's like, oh, well, here's this guitar player. Oh, now he's doing songs. But it's not A or B. Like, we live in an and world, right? It's like
more so than ever.
I can be all of this.
Yeah, that's what I remember telling people. I had the realization a couple of years ago where it's like, you legitimately are, and this is not a realization of truth, just a realization of a new perspective, by the way. Just the idea that you kind of are a world. Like, in the sense of like, you're like a channel someone tunes into. And I think a good way to people can get in on that to understand is, I think Jack White is a great example. Jack White has his own look. He has his own sound. He has his own accolades. And he has his own business, in the sense that he puts out records. He has his upholstery store. He has Third Man, which is, I'm assuming, encompassing of anything that he does musically and outside of it. It's like, he's a world. And he can just kind of exist and build on the concept that is Jack White until he wants to cash out and just do whatever he wants for the rest of his life. And it's like, that to me is like the thing to do, is to like be your own world. But like, to like really define what that means and like have a vision and know like what is the next thing that my world is focusing on. And like realize that when someone says Daniel Donato, what they believe Daniel Donato to be is just as important as what I myself believe Daniel Donato to be. And it's like, that's a crazy concept as well. So people definitely know me as a guitar player, and rightfully so, because that's the most valuable thing I've brought to the world so far. And I think it probably will be. Like, I just have like a real connection with the instrument that I've never really felt with anything else. But I really want to, I do want to have songs, and I want to have a live experience that can kind of take the asset of the guitar connection that I have and make it as big as it can be. Because unfortunately, just being the best guitar player, whatever Purple Heart you want to put on it, that asset alone doesn't raise the ceiling to phenomenal heights. And why be in the music business if you don't want phenomenal heights? And so it's like, trying to, I guess, strengthen what I do in other ways to make that main engine as big and loud as it can be. I hope that makes sense.
I think it does. I think it all kind of boils down to me, if I tried to surmise it a little bit, it's just kind of like, it goes back to identity, right? And
right.
It's this thing of establishing who you are and that you know who you are. And do you feel like you got to prove that to the world? Like, personally, do you feel like you have to like show that, and you put all this sweat equity in like doing everything? And at this point in time, if we had to A and B it, like, it would be guitar player, songwriter, artist career, that all these things are actually, it's encompassing. It's forming the brand identity and you as an artist of like, yeah, this is it. Like, it's, you could think of it as like, it's like Jerry Reed. Like, everybody thought Jerry Reed was just this one thing. And then he became like, he's also this badass guitar player. He's also actually a amazing actor. And he's also this amazing songwriter. It's hard for people to fathom that people are just good at more than one thing.
We hate accepting that. We really do love, and rightfully so if you think about it, because we have to compartmentalize everything in our life.
Yeah.
And so most people, we're not going to give more people, like, very few people do you give more than 2 minutes of thought to.
Yeah.
Like, very few people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you give at most 100 people 2 minutes of thought. Plus. And it's like, that's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? And
100%.
it's like, it's like, you got to really have a defined thing that you're doing for people to even think about you at all.
Yeah.
So like, I think a lot of people get pissed off when they get, oh, people just know me because of this one song. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's like, at least they know you.
Yeah.
That's real.
That's going
like
for
the fact
something.
that I can just go on YouTube and somehow become inspired and then create things that people in Argentina are learning and then sending me videos of it. That to me, like, a couple years ago, I would hate that. I used to think like, well, fuck, I'm just a guitar player and this is that. It's like, really, no, like, that is not the thing. There's the other side of the coin where it's like, if people think about you at all, that means you provided value to them in their life, and they, the people, or you can call them the market, are telling you, yes, we like this. Here's something in return. So that's kind of the way I'm trying to look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to dive into this record. It finally downloaded.
Oh yeah, man.
No, it's not on you. I tend to ghost people and just kind of, oh yeah, it's good, whatever. And then I didn't check the link last night, so it could have been perfect last night for all I know. But then it downloaded like 4 minutes like before I was supposed to call you. So like
I sent you the waves.
Yeah.
So I figured I would just send you the waves. The only reason I mentioned waves is because literally everyone listening to this is gonna know. They just sound a little better.
Yeah.
So figured you'd want to hear it, you know.
Oh, dude, I'm into it.
Send you those shitty ass MP3s though. That's for the rest of the world.
Yeah, fuck you fuckers. All right, dude. I think you're a real human being. I'm excited to kind of dive into this record though. Kind of check it out.
Hey, and please, your honest thoughts on it, please.
Yeah, I tend to do that. And it's sometimes scary to me. So I definitely
honesty
will.
is scary.
It is, man. It's a tricky thing, especially when you're dealing with somebody's heart. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
right.
why I always broke up with people over the phone. It was easier.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's I guess a good point. Is your record should be more than just your heart.
Yeah. I'm excited to dive into it, man. So, dude, thanks for hanging out today.
Oh man, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure talking.
You kids made it all the way through that juice. Thanks for hanging on, sitting on the edge and the seat of your pants, listening to our conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. He's got lots of stuff kind of going on. Of course, everything is central hub for all this stuff, DanielDonato.com. Go give him a follow at the Daniel Donato on the social platforms. He, of course, has TikTok. You guys need to go check out. He posts daily stuff, and he gives out free tabs and lessons on the TikTok. It's pretty rad, pretty giving dude, especially for his talent, what he does. Of course, he's got articles coming out all the time. He's doing the thing. Hashtag Cosmic Country is how you can also keep up with the dude. The live record. Hello, he's got the live record. So when the COVID-19 pandemic was declared a state of emergency, boom, it was shut down Cosmic Country Tour. On that note, they took those files and they made a live record out of it. Go to danieldonato.bandcamp.com. Of course, go to his website. You can go to smipodcast.com. We'll have links there. Go check out the live recording from the day, March 13th, that COVID-19 was declared state of emergency. Ooh, that's heavy. All right. I think that's it. I think that's everything for Daniel. I hope you guys really enjoyed this conversation. But we release episodes every Tuesday, sometimes on Thursdays. The best way to know that you have an episode on your phone is to hit beautiful subscribe. But I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. What I'm going to ask you is that you share this episode with a friend. You think they appreciate the creative headspace and the conversations that we just had? Let them know that this thing exists. Boom. Magic sauce. Friendship forever, but from a distance. Further than 6 feet away. Social media distance. Boom. All right, kids. I think that's it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Love you. Stay safe out there. Happy surviving.